Now that there's been a whole reboot/revival for Buffy that has been announced, I'm not exactly sure how to feel about it. Not to say that I have negative opinions and I'm going to assume that it's going to be bad, but there are a lot of times where a reboot or revival is just not done correctly, which, to be fair, is extremely subjective because what does that really mean for it to be done correctly? But I do want to hold out high hopes for a Buffy reboot, especially since Sarah Michelle Gellar is on board. I don't think Buffy needs a reboot or revival, but if we're going to have one, it definitely doesn't need to be a carbon copy of the original show. What I mean by this is that I think one of the main failures of reboots is that they try to capture the energy of the original show, and sometimes they can come off disingenuous because there are times where pieces of work are a product of their time, so you can't recapture that magic. But if the Buffy reboot can give us charismatic characters and writing that doesn't feel forced, then I'm hopeful we can be in for a great time. But that also brings the question of how the show will continue from where it left off. Buffy the Vampire Slayer ended where all the potential Slayers awakened with their power, so there is no only one in the world anymore. Will the new show retcon this? I hope to God not, because that ending for Buffy was culminating since the first episode of the original show, given the conflict of Buffy never being able to live as a normal girl and always having this responsibility solely land on her back. Now, if it doesn't retcon the ending, will the new show acknowledge the comic series that happened after? Now, I've never personally read them, but there are some things that I've heard about them that make me glad that I never did. I'm just thinking about what I hope for the Buffy reboot to be. Like, do I want Buffy to come back as a Slayer mentor or kind of like a watcher like Giles was? Or do I think there should be a completely new Slayer we are following and just have the minds of SMG on the production side, trying to keep true to the original show? Because if there is someone I do absolutely trust with Buffy's legacy, it would be Sarah Michelle Gellar, which is why I'm a little more hopeful than usual for this revival. Speaking of SMG, that brings the question of will any of the other cast members be joining along? I saw there was an article with Seth Green saying he was willing to join back if there was more story for Oz. So I don't know what that means for anything. Really, I'm assuming everything is up in the air for right now, considering they only got, I think they have an order for a pilot, but they obviously haven't done anything yet because things are so in early stages. But honestly, I'm more willing to not say too much about what I want for the show, which is why the video is so short, and just let myself be pleasantly surprised. I feel like when we have too many expectations of what we want, then it becomes impossible to enjoy what we actually get. Not to say that we have to accept everything and not be critical, but it ends up being a conversation of, well, they didn't do what I wanted them to do. So for now, I'm just going to say, I don't know what I want them to do. All I want is for it to make sense.